Hey, what's up guys? Thanks for stopping by the channel. So for this video, we're going to be taking a look at a very special Grand Seiko GMT in their SBGN023 model. This also happens to be a limited edition piece, and it celebrates the 140th birthday of Seiko and I guess the Grand Seiko brand. Now this watch I find is also criminally underappreciated, but there's actually a very large reason for this, and I think people got sticker shock when this watch was announced because it retails for 7,100 Canadian dollars, and this is for a 9F quartz movement. The same 9F quartz that's utilized in their current Grand Seiko GMT models that were just sub 4,000 or hover just over $4,000. And I have to say, when Grand Seiko first released their 9F Quartz GMTs, I purchased the SBGN003 as my first Grand Seiko ever, and it happens to be one of my favorite watches in their catalog overall. But getting back to the SBGN023, you can find these now in very good condition on the used market, and that's where I picked mine up pre-owned from my AD. And at the price I paid, I definitely think this watch is a really great value. So why don't we flip perspectives now, and you guys can actually take a close-up look at the features and specs for the SBGN023 GMT. So now that we're in the studio, we can take a closer look at this Grand Seiko SBGN023 limited edition 9F Quartz GMT. And I'll say right off the bat, this watch definitely has a bit of heft to it. Because it's considered one of their tough sports models, you can see that the case is just beefier, the lugs are truncated and more angular. And in terms of weight, this watch actually weighs in at 166 grams. That includes the stainless steel watch head and bracelet. But of course, you can also easily swap this to a strap if you want to lighten the load ever so slightly. In terms of other dimensions, we have a 40mm case diameter here. Flipping the watch to the side, the wingspan between my thumbs is 46.6 millimeters. I like the use of drilled lug holes. If you want to swap out the bracelet for a strap, it's easy to do. In terms of thickness, it's a bit thicker than some other 9F GMTs from Grand Seiko at 14 millimeters, and that measurement is taken not only from the screw down case back, but to that 18 karat gold GS medallion that protrudes from the bottom ever so slightly, and then to the top of a chamfered and flat sapphire crystal. Now I like the fact that between the lugs is an even 20 millimeters, so the bracelet is 20 millimeters towards the head of the watch, tapering nicely to 18 millimeters before you get to the assigned GS clasp, which is nice and thin and just has your twin trigger to release. And looking at a milled clasp here, nothing in the way of micro adjustment, which is unfortunate, but you do get half links for sizing on the bracelet. And they're secured by slot screws on either side of the bracelet itself. I was able to get a good fit, and I think most people will. I will say that the bracelet construction and tolerance are very good. It's mostly finely brushed, but you do have micro beveling towards the flanks, which are also high polished. And here's an in-studio wrist shot just to show you how well this watch would wear on a 7.5-inch wrist. That is 19 centimeters in circumference if you use the metric system. And there is some wrist presence here. Again, this watch does weigh a fair bit on the bracelet. So let me talk about some of the elements that I really like about this watch, starting with the dial. There's actually a very subtle ribbed pattern that propagates out from the center of a dial and goes towards the periphery. You don't see it too well head on, but then at certain angles, it gives you a nice kind of sunburst or a bit of a sheen, and it's a cool texture. I also really like how they use the use of yellow accents on the dial. And it's high contrast against the black dial overall, but you have a nice applied GS logo in gold. The extra GMT hand is done up very well and finished well in gold, and it matches the GMT printing below the handset towards the 6 o'clock position. Now, some people don't like the offset date at the 4 o'clock. I don't actually mind it. I think it keeps the symmetry with the offset crown at the 4 o'clock position, which is also signed with a GS logo and screwed down. Because this case type is a little bit beefier than a lot of Grand Seikos, you're getting 200 meters of water resistance, which is another feature I really enjoy. And the anti-magnetic properties of this watch is also a bit higher than some of the tolerances you're going to find on most standard Grand Seikos. I think it runs around 200 Gauss. I really also like the fact that this watch has excellent lume. A lot of Grand Seikos outside of their sports collection don't have lume at all. This one has it running down the strips of the applied hour markers and then on the broader handset that you will find. I also like the contrasting use of the yellow on the rehaut here. So the daylight hours are actually done in yellow, and then the nighttime hours are in black. And then if you move away from the dial and take a look at the bezel insert, it's fixed and it's done in ceramic, and you have nice white lacquer Arabic numerals for the 24-hour or second time zone function for this particular watch. Now, the GMT movement inside this watch is their in-house 9F86, and I didn't want to downplay that at the start of the video. I mean, I think this is actually a phenomenal GMT movement. It's a traveler's GMT, so if you unscrew that screw-down crown and you pop it out to the first position, you can independently jump your local hours while keeping that 24-hour time fixed. So you're not actually going to affect the accuracy. You can see the seconds hand keeps ticking away there. But then if I did want to set the time for all the hands, you could pull the crown out to extremity. That would actually stop the seconds hand by hacking the movement, and you can set your time precisely that way. Now, if we turn this watch over, I just wanted to quickly show you that 18 karat Grand Seiko lion medallion in the center of the case back here. It's pretty cool, but it does sit a bit proud of the case back itself. And this is also a numbered limited edition. There's only 2,021 pieces in total. You can see I'm up in the 900 series for this particular watch. So in terms of potential points for improvement, while I do enjoy that medallion logo, it does kind of dig into your wrist after wearing this watch for a long period of time. So it's slightly uncomfortable in that regard. And aesthetically, while I do like the design of this case, I will say that these angular lugs that turn down abruptly are done in high polish and are fairly easy to scratch if you're not careful. And then also the overall thickness for this watch, while it is justified given that this is a sports tough case design, I really wish it was about 1 millimeter or 2 thinner. To me, I would take the trade-off of only having 100 meters of water resistance if I can get a lot slimmer of a case overall. And then, of course, the final con is the sticker price for this particular watch. Now, of course, these watches are sold out, and you have to look on the secondary market where they are actually way more affordable. But like, I'm trying to figure out why Grand Seiko positioned this watch at $7,100 when if you spent a few $100s more, you can actually get the spring drive variation for their GMT models. And to me, that's a bit too close for comfort. But at the end of the day, I really do enjoy this watch on multiple levels. I think that the colorway for this particular limited edition is great. You get a nice mix of materials with steel, ceramic, and a touch of 18 karat gold. And I think it's something that not everyone else is going to have on their wrist. So it is kind of a wild card. But as always, I'd also like to know your guys' thoughts on this particular watch, and if you consider picking one up if you can find a good deal. Now, if you do enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. It always helps me out. And as always, I can't wait to catch you guys in the next video.